Welcome to the Top Password List 2023 edition. This video is divided into 4 sections, an intro and 3 chapters related to password cracking and the top used password list. The timestamps are listed below in the description, and if you are just interested in viewing the password list, please feel free to jump to that section using the links below. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel, as this will help the channel grow. Thank you for watching and enjoy. Are you comfortable with your current passwords? Are your passwords safe? Creating passwords in the past was as simple as picking an arbitrary word that would have seemed relevant at the time, and that would have sufficed, deeming that random set of letters safe to secure any of your online accounts. Today's passwords can be worth a lot of money to the right people. Those passwords can give hackers access to your bank accounts, brokerage accounts, personal information, which can facilitate identity theft, or virtual accounts that can have some intrinsic value linked to them, and that is only a small sample of the accounts that can be of interest to such criminals. A lot of users might deem some accounts unimportant, but what you might not be aware of is that those accounts can be used as a stepping stone for the hackers to get access to more prominent accounts. A few years back, there was an incident that involved a gaming board that was related to the well-known game World of Warcraft, created by Blizzard. The intentions of the hackers at that time was not specifically breaching that gaming board, as there was nothing of value or interest on that server for the hackers to profit off, but rather it was leveraging the information acquired from breaching that server, and ultimately getting access to their real trophy, the Blizzard accounts and games, to ravage any valuables in those accounts and sell them for profit on the gaming gray market. The tactics of the hackers succeeded for 2 reasons. First, the security on that gaming board server was not up to par, nor was it hardened, making it an easy target for the assailants to acquire those passwords, rather than going through the more difficult route of hacking the hardened and secure servers of Blizzard to try and get that same information. Secondly, and the fatal error is here, a lot of users used the same email and passwords on both the board and Blizzard accounts, making it easy for the hackers to successfully extrapolate a good number of the target passwords, gaining access to the WoW accounts and executing the final heist. The moral of the story here is, never use the same password for multiple accounts. With today's technologies, it's not that simple to create a password, as it used to be in the past. Password cracking software can be downloaded with ease from the internet, and it's accessible to anyone with the intention of acquiring them with a simple Google search. So can you imagine what anyone can do if they get their hands on a password file with your password in it, and successfully attempted recovery of that password? Password cracking has been around for a long time, and you don't have to be an expert to attempt such an endeavor. Once the password file has been acquired, the hacker or hackers can download one of several password cracking applications to attempt recovering or guessing as many account passwords as possible from that file. As for the software that cracks the passwords, there are several well-known ones from which I will mention a few here: John the Ripper, Rainbow Crack, Hashcat, Brutus, and OPH Crack. Cracking a password can be a lengthy process, but computers have come a very long way since they became mainstream in 1981. Computers then had single-core CPUs, whereas today can have CPUs that are multi-threaded, multi-cored, and faster by multitudes from the ones created back then. Not only are the CPUs faster, but with the invention of the GPU, we can break those passwords in a fraction of the time of what it used to take. The time to break the password can still be time-consuming, depending on the complexity of the secret text, what character set is used to create the password, and the character length of the password itself. The hacking softwares mentioned above can utilize multiple techniques, but not limited to dictionary attacks, rainbow tables, or simply brute force attack to recover the target password. To make things worse, modern adaptation of those password cracking software are not only relying on your modern powerful CPUs for the number crunching, but they are also taking advantage of the power of your graphics card, or even better, the use of multiple graphic cards to crack that password. So now you are asking, how? What graphic cards? What do graphic cards have to do with hacking your password? The answer is simple. It is the CUDA technology created by NVIDIA. Other implementations similar to this technology is available by different manufacturers, but this is beyond the scope of this blog, so What is a CUDA processor? And is CUDA a RISC or a CISC processor? A little tour of the CPU architecture first. A CISC processor is what is known as a complex instruction set computer. It is an architecture that has a rich set and a large number of instructions that can perform many complex operations. A good example of a CISC processor would be the Intel line of CPUs. The instructions on a CISC processor predominantly take multiple CPU cycles to finish the sequence of operations associated with the instruction. Compared to RISC CPUs, it takes a smaller number of instructions or lines of code to execute the same programming logic on CISC. Both CISC and RISC processors are known to be very good general-purpose CPUs rather than specialized or more efficient CPUs. On the flip side of the CPU design, we have RISC processors, which stands for Reduced Instruction Set Computing. This type of CPU design really lives to its name as its instruction set is much smaller than that of the CISC processors, but in return it emphasizes simplicity and efficiency. Each instruction on a RISC CPU can be executed in a single computer cycle, making it very efficient in what it does, but at the price of having to write more code just to execute the same programming logic as compared to a CISC processor. So the question still begs for an answer: is the CUDA processor a CISC or a RISC processor? The answer is it is neither. You see, both RISC and CISC processors are good general-purpose processors, even though in some specific situations, one of the above architectures can be better than the other, but they are both equal in performance because which CPU is deemed superior all depends on the requirements at hand. Those requirements are basically what will dictate if you are going to use a RISC or a CISC processor. GPUs or graphical processor units, on the other hand, have very specific requirements and arithmetic operations that calculate 3D objects' orientation and location in a virtual environment. Those arithmetic operations are known as matrix operations and are part of linear algebra. That said, both CISC and RISC processors can perform those operations, but neither are efficient in doing so, and this is where CUDA comes handy. Even though CUDA cores are slower in speed than CISC and RISC processors, still they are specialized in solving such arithmetic calculations, and because they can do so in mass numbers in parallel, they can outperform both of the other types of CPUs in this case by a factor of at least 10, if not more. CUDA uses a different instruction set from both the predominant CPU's architecture, and it is known as VLIW, which stands for Very Long Instruction Word. VLIW is explicitly designed and optimized to run on a parallel computing platform, multiple CPUs, and it has its own programming model, which is implemented on the GPUs that are produced by NVIDIA. CUDA technology can be used for other applications that use the same arithmetic or logic, for example AI, scientific simulations, and encryption, and is not exclusive to graphics operations. This approach of implementing technology is known as GPGPU, which stands for General Purpose Computing on Graphics Processing Units, and makes the CUDA platform accessible to software developers and ultimately the end users through the CUDA accelerated libraries on multiple platforms like Microsoft Windows, Linux, and Mac OS X. Unlike CPUs, GPUs emphasize the execution of an instruction in a parallel processing architecture, utilizing many concurrent threads rather than executing those same instructions on a single thread. As a matter of fact, it is innate for a single CUDA instruction to send multiple data points across multiple cores for processing in a single pass. As mentioned previously, pure speed on a single CUDA core is not its forte, but rather its ability to work in parallel with other cores is where it shines, and that gives it the edge over other processors like Intel or Motorola when the operations are related to matrix arithmetic. CISC processors, on the other hand, do have the capability of having multiple cores and handling multiple threads. As a matter of fact, that is the norm today. But those cores are not optimized to run in parallel as in parallel processing, but rather are intended to run multiple independent threads or programs simultaneously. Or in some cases, a single application can break an overall task into smaller separate parts and have each core run a different part of the program for faster execution. Early versions of CUDA were designed with 200 to 300 CUDA cores per graphic card. Today's implementation of NVIDIA's CUDA can boast 9,728 cores per graphic board, and that number is rising by the day. To spice things up, some mining motherboards can allow up to 8 of those GPU cards on a single system, all running in unison for a total of almost 77,800 CUDA cores in addition to your current multi-core CPU. Now that's what I call a miniature powerhouse, a small mainframe dedicated to cracking that password file. Such top-notch systems can be built for approximately $13,500. Smaller setups can even cost less, so it's not that expensive. Setups with such configurations can increase the speed of breaking your password by at least 15-fold, rather than just relying on your x86 CPU by itself. Did all that technical jargon get your attention? Before I list the top passwords of the year, here is some advice on how to create your own safe password. 1. Your password should be a combination of at least 2 words that have nothing to do with each other, like tree and car. Use your word preferences for this duo. 2. Use a combination of lower and uppercase letters. 3. Use numbers in your password. 4. Your password should be at least 8 characters long. The longer the password is, the harder it is to crack. 5. If the system allows you to use symbols like /, star, hash, @ and $sign in your password text, then use them in combination with the above rules. 6. Don't use the same password for multiple accounts or different websites. Each account or website should have its own unique password. I can't emphasize how important this point is to keeping your accounts safe. 7. Don't use your name, family name, or any names of your family, children, husband, wife, or pets in your password. 8. Don't use names of sports teams, cities, famous companies, brands, movies, actors, singers, music bands, high school, colleges, or universities in your password. 9. Don't use your telephone number or any telephone numbers related to your family or work, or any personal information like dates of birth or social security numbers in your password. 10. Change your passwords on a set schedule, like every 3 or 6 months. Don't be complacent keeping them unchanged for an extended period of time. If the server does not make you change your password every so often, you should get in the habit of changing it yourself. In the following sections, I will be listing some of the most common passwords created by users across different user demographics and different geographical locations. I have also divided the password list into subsections, and each subsection sorted alphabetically in hopes of making it easier for you to see the concepts and patterns you should avoid, and by all means avoid those patterns, and follow the password creation advice listed above. If you see any of your passwords listed in the sections below, please have it changed immediately. I have collected the top used password list from multiple sources, so I will give them credit for their research: NordPass, Splashdata, and Wikipedia. Before we continue with this video, please click the like button and subscribe to this channel. It really does help our metrics and keep us online. In this section, we have the list of the most commonly used passwords based on numbers. Please feel free to pause the video as needed to go through the list. In this section, we have the list of the most commonly used passwords based on numbers. Please feel free to pause the video as needed to go through the list. The passwords on this page are names of famous people based on categories like religion, fictional characters, singers, businessmen, or sports. The list is not comprehensive by no means, but avoid passwords based on this concept. No particular patterns on this page to follow, except the following are very popular common words or phrases created by many users as their passwords. The password list on this page is based on very popular people names that are adopted by users as their default passwords. A lot of users also like to create passwords based on the names of their favorite music bands. Please steer away from that trend as well. When creating your personal secure password, we definitely don't want to migrate popular bands into popular passwords that can be easily guessed. The passwords in this list are based on superheroes, actors, and well-known movies. Like the rest of the words mentioned in other categories in this video, avoid using any of them or anything similar to them in concept as your password, because these entries are very wildly used, easy to guess, and probably already included in some sort of dictionary list for cracking passwords. I think by now you should have gotten used to the concept of what can and what can't be used as a password. For this section, I will suffice to say, don't use brand names in any of your passwords. Another category of words that gets abused as passwords are words related to sports. You probably got it by now, but don't use names of sports like football, names of teams like Yankees, or even names of sports players in any of your passwords. Don't use names of countries, famous cities, or popular places in your password. This page contains a list of generic words that have been extensively used as passwords in the past. Their recent use was so common that we strongly advise against using any of them as your password or as part of your password. Bad passwords are not limited to passwords originating from the English language. As you can see in this list, a lot of foreign words have also made it into the top used passwords of the year, and their use should also be avoided when creating anything that will be securing your accounts. This concludes the top used passwords list of 2023. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel, as it will help us in bringing you more new and exciting content. One last piece of advice before you leave: don't use your social security in your password. Don't use any of your car's brand in your password. And when you log onto a website like Google, please make sure your password does not look anything like Google123. I hope you have learned how to create a good password after watching this video, so please be creative and be safe.